Chinwe sat outside his father's compound, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The village of Umwagu was settling down for the night, but his thoughts were far from peaceful. For months now, a deep unease had taken root in his heart, an unease that centered around his brother's wife, Adanne. She was beautiful, no doubt, with skin the color of rich mahogany and eyes that seemed to pierce through one's soul. But there was something off about her, something that made Chinwe's skin crawl every time she was near. Chinwe's elder brother, Obinna, had brought Adanne home a year ago from a distant village near the thick forest of the east. At first, everyone had welcomed her with open arms, pleased by her quiet demeanor and graceful presence. However, as time passed, Chinwe noticed peculiar things no one else seemed to pay attention to. She never ate with the family, always retreating to their hut when food was served. She avoided direct sunlight and moved with an eerie fluidity, her footsteps too light for a normal human being. And then there were her eyes. At night, when the fire cast its flickering light, Chinwe swore he had seen them glow, an unnatural golden hue that sent chills down his spine. He had voiced his concerns to Obinna once, but his brother had laughed it off, calling him paranoid. "You read too many folktales, Chinwe," Obinna had said with a dismissive wave. "Adanne is my wife, and she has been nothing but good to me. Let it go." But Chinwe couldn't. Something deep within him screamed that danger lurked in their household. Tonight, as he sat under the ancient udala tree, he watched Adanne from the corner of his eye. She stood at the edge of the compound, staring towards the forest, her expression distant. A cool wind blew, rustling the leaves, and for a brief moment, Chinwe saw it again, her eyes flashing in the darkness. His heart pounded in his chest. He had to know the truth. Making up his mind, Chinwe waited until the compound was quiet. He saw Adanne slip away into the forest, moving like a shadow. Careful to stay hidden, he followed, his feet light against the earth. The path wound deeper into the woods, and the familiar sounds of crickets and nightbirds seemed to fade into an eerie silence. Chinwe's breath hitched when he saw her stop near a clearing, where the moonlight cast a silver glow over the tall trees. His eyes widened in horror as Adanne began to peel off her skin, layer by layer, revealing shimmering scales beneath. Her body elongated, twisting and coiling into the form of a monstrous serpent, its golden eyes gleaming in the dark. Chinwe stifled a gasp, his body frozen with terror. But as he turned to flee, he stepped on a dry twig. The snap echoed through the silent night, and Adanne's head snapped toward him, her forked tongue flickering in the air. Chinwe knew one thing: he had been discovered, and now, his life was in grave danger. Chinwe's breath caught in his throat as Adanne's piercing golden eyes locked onto him. For a fleeting moment, time stood still. Then, with a terrifying hiss, she lunged forward, her serpent form slithering across the forest floor with unnatural speed. Panic gripped Chinwe, and without thinking, he turned and bolted deeper into the forest, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. Branches whipped against his face as he sprinted through the thick undergrowth, the sound of rustling leaves and hissing filling his ears. He dared not look back, he could feel her presence behind him, closing in with terrifying speed. His feet stumbled over roots and stones, but he pushed forward, fueled by sheer terror. He had heard stories of snake spirits before, creatures of the underworld who disguised themselves as humans to blend in with their prey. But never in his wildest dreams did he think one would enter his own family. The dense trees ahead gave way to a small clearing, and Chinwe saw a narrow path leading back toward the village. Relief surged through him, but it was short-lived. A loud rustling to his left made him realize that Adanne had circled around him, her serpent body weaving effortlessly through the vegetation. He caught a glimpse of her monstrous form, her scales glistening under the moonlight, and he knew he wouldn't make it to safety if he didn't act fast. Thinking quickly, he darted to his right, plunging into the thick brush. He flattened himself against the trunk of an old Iroko tree, trying to steady his breathing. His ears strained to pick up any sound, and the silence that followed was more terrifying than the chase itself. Was she still searching? Was she watching him? Suddenly, a chilling voice echoed through the night. Chinwe, it is cold, is soft and taunting. You should not have followed me. His blood ran cold. She was playing with him, toying with her prey. He had to find a way out before she caught him. Chinwe's eyes darted around in desperation, and he spotted a fallen log nearby. He crouched low and crawled through the undergrowth, careful not to make a sound. He could hear Adanne's slow, deliberate movements behind him, the hiss of her breath drawing closer. Just as he reached the edge of the clearing, Chinwe made a split-second decision and sprang forward, running with all the strength he had left. He didn't stop until he saw the familiar outline of the village gates. Bursting through, he collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. The village night guards looked at him in shock, rushing to his side. Chinwe, what happened? One of them asked, helping him to his feet. He could barely form the words, his chest heaving. Adanne, she's not human, she's a snake. The guards exchanged uneasy glances, but before they could respond, a soft voice called from the darkness. Brother Chinwe, why are you running? Chinwe turned, and there stood Adanne at the village entrance, her face calm and composed, as though nothing had happened. But Chinwe knew the truth. He had seen it with his own eyes. And now, she knew that he knew. Chinwe stood frozen at the village gates, his eyes locked on Adanne's composed face. She wore the same gentle smile that had charmed the entire village, but Chinwe could see the menace lurking beneath her gaze. His heart pounded in his chest as beads of sweat trickled down his forehead. Did the guards not see it? Did they not sense the danger that stood before them? Brother Chinwe, Adanne repeated, her voice dripping with false concern. Why do you look so frightened? Did something scare you in the forest? Chinwe swallowed hard, glancing at the guards, who now looked between him and Adanne with confusion. He couldn't tell them what he had seen, not yet. If he did, they would dismiss him as a madman, or worse, she might strike before he could seek help. Steadying his breath, he forced a nervous chuckle. Oh, it was nothing, Adanne. I thought I saw something moving in the dark, but it was just my imagination. Adanne's eyes gleamed in the dim torchlight. You should be careful, brother. The forest can be dangerous. Her words held an ominous weight that made Chinwe's stomach churn. She turned gracefully and walked past him, disappearing into the shadows of his brother's hut. Chinwe exhaled deeply, his hands trembling. He had to act fast before she realized his true intentions. He needed to speak with the village elders, the only people who might believe his story and know how to handle such a dark force. But he couldn't risk going home tonight, not with her there. Turning to the guards, he forced a smile. I think I'll sleep at my uncle's house tonight. The forest spooked me too much. They nodded understandingly, and Chinwe made his way to his uncle's compound, his mind racing. Inside the safety of his uncle's home, Chinwe sat in the dimly lit hut, staring at the flickering flame of an oil lamp. His uncle, an old man wise in the ways of tradition, listened patiently as Chinwe recounted everything he had seen. The old man's face darkened with concern. I have heard of such things before, his uncle said gravely. Women who are not truly women, but spirits disguised in human form. They come from the deep forest, seeking men to deceive. Chinwe nodded, his hands clenched into fists. What do I do, uncle? Obinna is in danger, and if I speak out too soon, she might silence me. The old man leaned in closer, his voice a whisper. You must seek the elders at dawn. They have the knowledge to deal with such creatures. But for now, do not let her suspect you. The snake woman is cunning, and if she knows you are aware of her secret, she will not hesitate to strike. Chinwe nodded solemnly, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Tonight, he would stay hidden. Tomorrow, he would seek the wisdom of the elders. But one thing was clear, his brother's life, and perhaps his own, depended on it. The first light of dawn crept over Umwogu village, painting the sky in shades of pale gold. Chinwe had barely slept, his thoughts plagued by images of Adanne's serpentine transformation. Every rustling leaf outside his uncle's hut made his heart race, fearing that she had come to silence him before he could act. As the village stirred to life, he knew he had no time to waste. He needed to speak with the elders before it was too late. With quiet urgency, Chinwe made his way through the narrow village paths, his eyes darting warily at every shadow. The marketplace was coming alive with traders setting up their goods, and the smell of roasting maize filled the air, but Chinwe had no appetite. His only focus was reaching the elders' council, where the village's wisest men gathered at the shrine of Ola, the earth goddess. Upon arrival, he found the elders seated in a semicircle under the ancient baobab tree. Their faces, lined with years of wisdom and experience, carried the solemnity of men who had seen much in their lifetime. Chinwe knelt before them, his voice trembling. "Great elders of Umwogu, I come before you with a heavy burden and seek your wisdom." Elder Okeke, the oldest among them, studied him carefully. "Speak, my son. What troubles you so early in the morning?" Chinwe hesitated, his mind replaying the horrifying vision of Adanne shedding her human skin. "It is about my brother's wife, Adanne." He took a deep breath, then continued, "Last night, I followed her into the forest, and what I saw, it was not human. She shed her skin like a snake and revealed a monstrous form beneath." A murmur rippled through the council, but their faces remained composed. Elder Nwofa narrowed his eyes. "Are you certain of what you saw, Chinwe? Accusing a man's wife of such a thing is not to be taken lightly." "I swear by the gods, Elder," Chinwe insisted, his voice desperate. "I saw it with my own eyes. And she saw me too." The elders exchanged knowing glances before Elder Okeke spoke again, his tone heavy with caution. "The spirits of the forest are old and powerful. There are tales of beings who take human form to live among us, feeding on the energy of those they marry. If what you say is true, then your brother Obinna is in grave danger." Chinwe swallowed hard. "What must I do?" Elder Okeke's expression darkened. "You must tread carefully, my son. Confronting her directly is dangerous. Such beings are cunning and ruthless. We must first confirm her true nature with a test. Bring her to the shrine tomorrow at dusk, and we shall seek the guidance of the gods. Until then, do not let her suspect your intentions." Chinwe nodded, but dread gnawed at his heart. He had seen the serpent's power firsthand, and the thought of facing her again filled him with fear. Rising to his feet, he thanked the elders and made his way back to the compound, his mind swirling with questions. As he neared home, he saw Adanne standing outside the hut, her eyes fixed on him with an unsettling smile. "Brother Chinwe," she said softly. "You left early this morning. Where did you go?" Chinwe forced a weak smile, his heart pounding. "Just visiting the market," he lied. Adanne's smile remained, but her gaze lingered on him for a moment too long. "Be careful, dear brother," she whispered, her voice holding an unmistakable threat. "You wouldn't want to wander into places you shouldn't." Chinwe nodded stiffly and walked past her, feeling the weight of her gaze on his back. He knew one thing, Adanne was watching him closely, and any wrong move could cost him his life. Chinwe sat inside the hut, his hands trembling as he stared at the wooden floor. Adanne's words echoed in his mind, "You wouldn't want to wander into places you shouldn't." It was a warning, a subtle yet deadly reminder that she was watching his every move. He knew now that his life was hanging by a thread. If he made a single mistake, Adanne would strike, and no one would be able to save him. Obinna entered the hut moments later, his face beaming with joy. "Brother, why do you look so troubled?" he asked, patting Chinwe on the back. "Are you still suspicious of Adanne?" You need to let go of these thoughts. Chinwe forced a smile, masking his fear. No, brother. Just tired from the market trip. Obinna laughed heartily. Good. I was beginning to think you didn't like my wife. His voice softened as he added, she's been nothing but good to me, Chinwe. She takes care of the home, she respects me, and I have never known peace like this in my life. Chinwe's stomach churned at those words. Obinna was blind to the danger sleeping beside him. He wanted to scream the truth, to warn his brother that the woman he loved was not human. But he knew that would only lead to disaster. Instead, he nodded weakly. Yes, brother. She is good to you. That evening, Chinwe kept his distance from Adanne, careful not to arouse suspicion. He watched her from the corner of his eye as she moved gracefully around the compound, humming a soft tune while preparing food. The villagers adored her, children ran to her for treats, and the elders spoke highly of her humility. But Chinwe knew the truth hiding behind that perfect mask. Later that night, as the moon rose high, Chinwe heard a soft rustling outside the hut. He peered through the small window, his breath hitching. Adanne was standing under the udala tree, her long hair cascading down her back. Slowly, she raised her hands to her face, and to his horror, she began to peel her skin once more. The flesh gave way to shimmering golden scales beneath, and her eyes gleamed like two burning coals in the moonlight. Chinwe clapped his hand over his mouth to stifle a gasp. Adanne swayed gently, her snake form fully revealed, tasting the air with her forked tongue. She turned her head slowly, as if sensing something, and Chinwe ducked quickly out of sight, his heart pounding. The words of Elder Okeke echoed in his mind. Do not let her suspect you. He had to act normal, pretend he was unaware of her secret until the elders performed their test. But how long could he keep up this act? He had never felt so alone, so terrified. As the first call of the morning rooster echoed through the village, Chinwe knew that today would be the most dangerous day of his life. He had to convince Adanne to accompany him to the shrine without arousing her suspicion. If he failed, she would kill him before he ever had a chance to expose her dark secret. Chinwe rose before dawn, his mind racing with plans and possibilities. The weight of the secret he carried pressed heavily on his chest. Today, he had to convince Adanne to accompany him to the elder's shrine without making her suspicious. But how? She was no fool, and every moment under her watchful gaze felt like walking on a knife's edge. He stepped outside, the cool morning air offering little comfort. The village was stirring to life, women carrying clay pots of water on their heads, children chasing each other through the narrow paths, and men preparing for the day's work. Chinwe saw Obinna sitting near the fire, chewing thoughtfully on a piece of roasted yam. Brother, you're up early, Obinna said with a grin. Are you feeling better? Chinwe nodded, forcing a smile. Yes, I am. In fact, I was thinking. Perhaps Adanne and I should visit the shrine of Ola today. I hear the priests have blessings for married women, and it would be good for her. Obinna looked pleased. That is a wonderful idea. Adanne has been wanting to go for some time, but she has been too busy with the household. I will tell her to prepare. Chinwe's heart raced. He hadn't expected Obinna to agree so easily. I'll tell her myself, brother. I want it to be a surprise. Obinna laughed. You're finally warming up to her, eh? That's good to see. Chinwe didn't respond, instead making his way toward the hut where Adanne was sweeping the floor with slow, deliberate strokes. She looked up at him, her lips curving into a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Good morning, brother, she said in that soft, melodic voice. You are up early today. Chinwe swallowed hard but kept his composure. Yes, Adanne. I was thinking we should go to the shrine today for blessings. It would be good for you. For a moment, Adanne's smile faltered, and Chinwe felt his stomach twist. She studied him carefully, as if trying to read his thoughts. "The shrine," she echoed. "That is unexpected." Chinwe forced a chuckle. I know. But it is important to me, and to Obinna. Please, come with me." There was a pause, then Adanne's smile returned, though something sinister lurked beneath it. "Of course, Chinwe," she said softly. "I will go with you." Chinwe exhaled, relief flooding through him, but deep down, he knew this wasn't going to be easy. Adanne was too clever to be caught off guard. She would be watching him closely. As they prepared for the journey, Chinwe discreetly gathered small charms his uncle had given him, protection amulets blessed by the village priest. He tucked them into his waistband, whispering prayers under his breath. By midday, the two of them set off toward the shrine, walking side by side along the dusty path that wound through the village and toward the forest beyond. Every step felt heavy with tension, and though Adanne's face remained serene, Chinwe could feel the weight of her gaze pressing on him. "You have been acting strange lately, Chinwe," Adanne said suddenly, her tone light but laced with hidden meaning. "Is something bothering you?" Chinwe smiled, though his palms were sweaty. "Not at all, Adanne. I want to do right by my brother." Adanne said nothing, but Chinwe saw the way her eyes lingered on him, sharp and calculating. He knew that if he made even the slightest mistake, she would see through his deception, and he would not live to see another day. Chapter 7: The Shrine of Truth. As they neared the shrine, the dense forest seemed to close in around them, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient wood. Chinwe's heart pounded in his chest, but he kept his steps steady, forcing himself to appear calm. Adanne walked beside him gracefully, her bare feet barely making a sound on the forest floor. When the shrine of Ola finally came into view, Chinwe felt a surge of hope. The towering clay structure stood amidst a grove of sacred trees, its entrance guarded by two carved wooden idols. Inside, the elders were waiting. Adanne slowed her pace, her golden eyes flickering toward the shrine with something that looked like weariness. "It has been so long since I visited the shrine," she murmured. "Are you sure this is necessary, Chinwe?" Chinwe nodded firmly. "It is always good to receive the blessings of the gods," he said, stepping forward. "Come, Adanne." She hesitated, but with a slight nod, she followed him inside. The elders sat in a half-circle around a small fire, their expressions unreadable. Elder Okeke, the wisest among them, gestured for Chinwe and Adanne to sit. "Welcome, my children," he said in his deep, gravelly voice. "We are honored by your presence." Adanne bowed her head respectfully, but Chinwe could see the tension in her posture. Elder Okeke's eyes lingered on her before he continued. "The gods see all things hidden in darkness. They reveal the truth to those who seek it." He reached for a bowl of sacred water and held it out to Adanne. "Drink, daughter. Let the gods bless you." Chinwe held his breath as Adanne stared at the bowl. For a moment, he thought she would refuse, but then she smiled and took it gracefully. She lifted the bowl to her lips and sipped the water slowly. Chinwe watched her closely, searching for any sign of discomfort. The elders chanted softly, calling upon Ola to reveal the truth. Chinwe clenched his fist, praying silently. Moments passed, and then, nothing happened. Adanne's expression remained composed, her eyes serene. Elder Okeke frowned slightly. "The gods are silent," he said, exchanging glances with the other elders. "Perhaps another blessing is needed." Chinwe's heart sank. Was she too powerful for even the gods to expose? He knew he had to act quickly. Before anyone could react, Chinwe reached into his waistband and pulled out the small charm his uncle had given him. He lunged forward, pressing it against Adanne's arm. A piercing scream tore through the shrine as Adanne recoiled violently, her skin sizzling where the charm touched her. Her disguise shattered instantly, her human skin rippling and peeling away to reveal the gleaming golden scales beneath. Her eyes, now fully serpent-like, glowed with malice. The elders gasped in horror, some stumbling backward in shock. Adanne's mouth twisted into a grotesque snarl, and before Chinwe could move, she lunged at him with lightning speed, her snake-like fangs bared. Chinwe fell backward, scrambling away as Elder Okeke raised his staff and struck the ground. "Back, creature of the forest," he thundered. The shrine trembled, and Adanne shrieked, writhing in agony. Smoke curled from her body as the sacred ground rejected her presence. "I should have killed you when I had the chance, Chinwe," she hissed, her voice distorted and unnatural. The elders began chanting louder, their voices rising in unison. The air grew heavy with spiritual energy, and Adanne's form convulsed violently. She let out one final, blood-curdling scream before bursting into a cloud of dark mist and vanishing into the forest beyond. Chinwe collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. The shrine fell silent, and the elders gathered around him, their faces solemn. Elder Okeke placed a firm hand on Chinwe's shoulder. "You have done well, my son. The serpent woman is banished, but she is not gone. She will wait in the shadows, seeking revenge." Chinwe swallowed hard, his body trembling with exhaustion. "What about Obinna?" he asked weakly. Elder Okeke sighed. "He must be told the truth, but gently. A man does not easily accept that his wife was a demon in disguise." When Chinwe returned to the village, Obinna met him with a worried expression. "Where is Adanne?" he asked, looking past Chinwe anxiously. Chinwe took a deep breath, his heart aching for his brother. "Obinna. Adanne was not who we thought she was. She was something else, something dark." Obinna frowned, shaking his head. "What are you saying, Chinwe? Where is my wife?" "The elders have dealt with her," Chinwe said carefully. "She was a serpent spirit, Obinna. I saw it with my own eyes." Obinna's face contorted with disbelief and anger. "You lie. Adanne loved me. She was good to me." Chinwe's voice broke. "I am sorry, brother. But the woman you loved was a deception. If she had stayed any longer, you would not have survived." Tears welled in Obinna's eyes, and he turned away, his shoulders shaking. Chinwe stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We will get through this together, brother." Chapter 10, A New Dawn. Days passed, and though the village spoke in hushed whispers of what had transpired, life slowly returned to normal. Chinwe remained vigilant, knowing Adanne might still lurk in the shadows, waiting for her moment. The elders blessed Obinna and the compound, sealing it against further evil. One morning, as Chinwe stood outside watching the sunrise, Obinna joined him, his eyes tired but filled with newfound understanding. "I should have listened to you, brother," he said softly. "I was blinded by love." Chinwe smiled weakly. "We all were, Obinna. But we must move forward." With a nod, Obinna walked away, ready to rebuild his life. Chinwe watched him go, knowing that their family had been spared a terrible fate. But deep inside, he also knew that evil never truly disappeared, it only waited for another opportunity. And so, with a wary heart and a cautious mind, Chinwe vowed to remain ever watchful, for the serpent woman was still out there, and she would not forget what he had done.